Wanted to Digital Tuesday. Hard Talk starts now with my co-host Caron Asgarali. Let me just remind you of Caron. She's an inspirational and motivational speaker, a chemistry teacher, an author, and of course she wears many hats. Is the founder of Project Rare, and the list goes on and on and on. Today, our topic is a continuing saga or continuing series on our topic, the ABCs of value. Good afternoon, Karen, and how are you?
Good afternoon, Magdadi, and good afternoon to our listeners. I am very well, thank you. It was a tough day with that traffic on the highway. I'm sure a lot of people were stuck in it for
I know
hours.
it's the norm. It's the norm.
Yes. But I think there was an accident today. I'm not sure, and I believe
Yes,
there
somewhere
was
in
a
the Freeport.
fatality.
Yeah, somewhere
Yes,
in the
yes,
Freeport area, there was an accident that did
yeah,
really have a fatality.
yes.
Well, of course. So we
But
appeal
how
to
are
the.
you?
I'm
How are
good.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I've been waiting with bated breath, hoping that you get home safely so that we can do the program today. And there it is. You got up safely and had enough time to get yourself ready for the program.
Yes.
I look forward to this program for a lot of reasons. And you and I we chat a lot, and we understand this project that we're on, if I should call it a project, the ABCs of values. It's so important these days that we have this kind of discussion. So let me ask people to call in at 222-8255, 222-8255, or you can use our toll-free number at 866-525-1099, 866-525-1099. Yes, Karen.
And before we start, you could even remind them that they could send a message as well,
Yes,
for
they
those who
can.
don't want to talk.
Yes, we are streaming live on YouTube and Facebook, so you can log on and send your comments, your messages, your opinions, whatever. Be part of the discussion. We'll appreciate that big times.
Yes, because sometimes it feels as though it's just you and I talking, and then
Yes.
afterwards we might get messages from people.
Yeah. Well, I have invited a very special friend of mine, Mr. Jason Ford. He'll be joining us in a short while. He said he's taking care of his grandchildren, dropping them off, and he'll be joining us in a little while.
Oh, I look forward to meeting up with him, to hearing him as well.
Yes, yes, yes. He's
So
very particular about the values, especially of today's youth and based on the situations that they face every day.
yes, and with grandchildren, he'll be thinking about the kind of future we are creating for them
That's right.
from today.
Yes, yes.
So today we will continue with the series. We had named it The Better Path, adding value to all life by adding values to your life. And I think between you and I, we are referring to it now as the ABCs of values.
Yes.
And in this series, what we do is we share information about values, and we get information from collaborators. This was originally a Project Rare, which stands for Raising Awareness on the Ripple Effect of Gun Violence, and it
Mhm.
was originally a project between Project Rare and various members of the community who we like to think of as valued collaborators. So they share with us, they speak about different values from A to Z, one person, one letter, one video per week. And we call it the alphabetical journey of values. And the whole purpose of this was to help us recover better from difficult circumstances or situations of conflict, to help us to build a more equitable and sustained world, and simply for us to be better individuals and citizens. So the video contributions, they're very, very well done and very short, but what they do is they challenge us to think critically, and they help us to make deliberate choices once we think.
Mhm.
And in doing that, it helps us to contribute to achieving a life of dignity, well being, and purpose for ourselves, but also as a community and by large for our society. So during the first session, what we did, we discussed the value of having a set of core values by which to live. And I remember we said this was something we needed to carefully think about and select and make sure that it's meaningful in our lives. And I don't know if you remember this, Magdali, but we talked about, when we think about values, the first thing that comes to our mind is respect and honesty and kindness, compassion, and those things. But
Right.
there are other types of values. You could look about things, ask yourself, what does global warming mean to you? Do
Mm-hmm.
you, do you care about the environment and sustainability? Do you love aesthetically pleasing buildings or gardens? Are you against the use of highly processed foods or certain food additives? All of these different kinds of things are also values. So maybe what we can do is wherever we go, we think about ways that we could make our life easier for other people. That is another type of value too. So the thing is, whatever ideas, beliefs, or practices you hold close to your heart, those are your values. And that's why it's important for us to think about them. Because whatever we choose to value, it's going to affect everything we do. And there are three C's. I have a partiality for C because my name begins with C. So there are three C's that should guide our actions when it comes to upholding values. So number one is, the older people might think, but I already have my values. But one of the things is that we must constantly revise over our lifetime, because it's so easy to drift away from what we really believe in. And then the second thing is we need to put in conscious effort, right? So it's not that you have the belief and it's just going to happen. You have to make that effort to ensure that everything you do is guided by your list of values.
Yes.
And then the third C, so first was constant revision, second was conscious effort, and third is compassionate living. Compassionate living will be the end result once you're living your life guided by principled values. So, just like is it Ford is his name?
Yes.
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 So,
Definitely.
so just like Mr. Ford is concerned about his grandchildren and the future that he's leaving for them, we, all of us, have to think about the legacy that we want to leave. And when we think about that, then we could come up with the kind of values that we want to follow or to hold dear and near and to guide the way that we behave. So, I think what we did, we went through different ways that you could come up with that list of values. I'm not going to go through that again, but, if anybody wants to find out, they can always get in touch with you or myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we could probably come up with something that we can give you, whether it's a written document or we can talk to you about it. So our lives and our actions, whatever we do, should always be examples of love and peace, love for everybody and peace, peaceful actions.
Mm-hmm.
And we can only do that if we hold ourselves accountable to some kind of standard of living. So it's just like if you're going to bake a cake, or you're making some nice fancy dessert. Sweet things are my weakness, so that's why I always talk about that. So you must have a recipe to follow, right? If you want
Yes.
to create this masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And it's similar with our lives. If we want to create a masterpiece of a life, the kind of life that is in alignment with our divine purpose, the kind of life that is going to, um, you know, let our lives shout about the praises and mercy and grace of God, then we have to have some kind of template, some kind of map for us to follow. And that map comes through our values. So that was the first week. The second week, we went into the alphabetical values, starting off with A. through Candice Campbell. And
Hmm.
Candice Campbell spoke about authenticity, and her video and her message were A for awesomeness. They were just wonderful, wonderful messages she gave us. And this week we are continuing with the alphabetical journey of values, beginning with the letter B. And there are many, many values that begin with the letter B.
Yes.
One for me is blossoming, growing into your best self, blossoming.
Yeah.
And then there's benevolent, which means being kind and meaning well in your actions and thoughts. And then there's best. It doesn't sound like a value, but it's a value. It's about placing value on things of great worth, not necessarily monetary worth, and expecting excellence or giving excellence or finding the most effective way of doing something. And it reminds me of the words in that opening song. I want to reach for what is mine. I want to reach for excellence. Rise and put it best, you know.
Yes.
He's not going to worry about what other people think. He's just going to focus on doing his best, giving his all and reaching for what is his.
Yes.
And I think I was telling you yesterday that for me, one of the B values I like is bold.
Mm.
And not bold as in brazen, but bold as in willing to take risks. The kind of boldness that will lead to growth and positive change. So, like in the first song, she talked about negative people, you
Hmm.
know, and you want to get rid of them. So, B, you want to be bold and lead with, you know, you grow, and through your growth you want to lead with positive change. And I think you like the value of belief.
Yes, I do. I do.
So I'm guessing you mean belief in self and God.
Yes, yes, and belief that things can be get can we can get things better by by believing in different, you know, approaches to life in general. So Mr. Ford is here with us. Let me just say hi and good afternoon, Mr. Ford. How are you?
Good afternoon, Mr. McIntyre. I am exhausted after a long day, but life goes on.
I hear you. My co-host is Caron Asgarali. So let me
Okay,
introduce
pleasant.
you to Caron, and Caron, let me introduce you to Mr. Ford.
Good afternoon, Mr. Fordman. It's nice to have you on board with us today.
Mr. Ford and
You,
I,
Miss Asgarali.
yes.
You can call me Karen, that's okay.
Okay, Carol, are you related? Are you related to the Asgaralis who owned the bookstore on Duke Street in Port of Spain?
No, no, I don't think I am.
Oh, okay, okay,
Mhm.
okay, Carol.
But I love books. That maybe in that way we're related. I'm also an author.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I guess when we are through, you can advise me how to also walk that road to author some books.
Of course, yes, we can do that.
Yeah,
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
yeah. So today, Mr. Ford, we are dealing with the ABCs of value. We did the alphabet A in a previous program, and today we are dealing with the alphabet B. My personal take on B is belief. Karen's is bold, and I don't know if you want to chip in with what of B you see as values to enhance the quality of life, relationships, you know, future endeavors. You tell me.
Well, I will use if I am permitted, I will use a piece of today and a piece of what you used last time, which was A.
Yes.
So I'll use B and A and say being authentic.
Fantastic.
I like that. It's reinforcing the message of authenticity. Very nice. Well done.
Thank you, thank you.
Karen, continue, Karen.
So yeah, so we were talking about belief, and you said, and I wanted to add something to that. I was thinking, we said belief in God and belief in self, and then
Yeah,
you said belief that things could get better. And I think, one of the things that we don't I don't have, I shouldn't say we, sometimes I don't always have belief in other people, and I think it's something we need to cultivate. It's very difficult though. It ties in with trust, but we need to believe that other people are good and that they can be good. I'm not saying that I'm opening up a can of worms there, and hopefully by saying that somebody might call in and tell me otherwise. So I will leave it there, and I wouldn't qualify it any more than that. So belief in other people, that they too can be good and that they want to be good, even if they are not acting. And when I say good, I mean according to um, the value of uplifting society. So, whatever we do, whatever we say, whatever we think, it should be something that is nurturing progress in our lives so that we can add value to other people's life. So,
that's right.
I always think, Daddy Mark, what you nurture or feed is what will grow. So if you nurture and feed bad thoughts, bad things, your actions will be bad actions. If you nurture and feed good thoughts, then your actions will be aligned with that and will be good actions and good thoughts. So that's why we're trying to do this to encourage people to think positively.
Hmm.
So one of the ways we were looking at also is to nurture this type of behavior. You want to choose to grow your skills base or your knowledge. You want to try doing different courses, join groups that could help you to become more of an asset to the development of our society. We want to develop our human resources. We don't want our human resources to be destructive powers, but we want them to be constructive powers. So that's why the song you played at the beginning, it said cut off the negative.
That's
That's
right.
what we want to do. We want to cut off the negative.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, when I look at beauty, where core values are concerned, I have a. It's varied. I look at kindness. I look at creativity. I look at people's work ethic. I look at goodness. I look at truth.
Right.
Nobility and honor. It stretches. It exists on different levels and, of course, capacities. When you think about how we can approach the method of approach, where my belief will lie. I think, like you said, belief and it ties in with trust. So these days, it's very difficult to find trustworthy people. So, based on your personal ambitions and reactions, like in the public and with family, or even with yourself and God, you tend to develop a method of thinking, a method of approach to what you would like to see happen where positivity is concerned. So I look at it in a broad perspective, personality, integrity, aspiration, acceptance, because I live with a mantra in my head that all man to their own order. Now, if your order is to write, your order is writing books and working so hard and motivating people, you have Project Rare, and the list goes on and on and on. I like that order. So I'll find myself mixing up my order with your order to bring about a relationship, a professional relationship that can help in some way or the other. Because if I can help one person, I think that's plenty. And you know, people's order sometimes you have to leave it alone because it's full of negativity. It might have disruptive ways of conducting, and the idea is that I look at the way everybody has differences, and I look at it like I believe that we can mix up these differences and opinions and, the way of thinking, the way of loving, the way of acceptance, and we can have it like a melting pot and arrive. at something that is positive, something that, like you said, can leave a legacy for others to follow. I too have two grandsons there that I think about every time I'm around them. I try my best to do things that they would see. Grandpa does this and grandpa does that, and it will work for them in their own way of doing things. Like I said, their own order. Everybody has their own order. So that's my spectrum where belief is concerned. It's a wide spectrum. So, and I always say that belief leads to knowledge. So when it's good to believe, and it's even better to know. So my uh, way of thinking about belief, it's far-reaching. So that's my take on belief.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Yes, because it can't just be, a shallow kind of thing. What you just said there, you showed us how deeply you think, and thinking is what will help us to know how we could make changes in society so that things can become better. Some of the ways we could develop ourselves. I'm talking. I don't want anybody to think I'm talking down or I feel that I know everything or that I do all of these things. I don't. But these are things I think about, and some of it I do, and some of it I'm aspiring to do. Um, but if we want to have belief in ourselves and we want to create a beautiful society,
Mhm.
through this belief, then there are things we can do. For example, we could look at volunteering with service groups, and I'm saying it knowing that many people out there already do this. But
Mhm.
remember, one of the things we started off by saying is that we need to constantly revise, and we also want to say it for people who might not know or who need a little encouragement. So there's no shortage of groups right here in our tiny island, and that is one of the things that I love about our island. We have people who want to help, and you think you, Daddy Mac, you name, say something, anything. It could be health, it could be crime, it could be what. We have groups out there working positively to bring about change in
Yes.
any aspect of society in Trinidad.
Yes.
I mean globally too, but in Trinidad, yes, we have it, and we're so tiny.
Yeah.
You know, we have up to this morning. I think I was looking at the papers and I saw where there's this woman. She's calling for more awareness of um, blood diseases.
Mhm.
So we have an organization for that. It's not very common,
Mhm.
but we still have people working for it. So volunteering is one of the ways we could develop ourselves and make ourselves more trustworthy and have more belief and make us more beautiful as a people. You could look at reading aloud for somebody else, maybe somebody who is in a hospital or somebody who might be at home and not feeling well, or somebody whose eyesight is going, they love to read, but they can't read anymore, you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
or maybe
Yeah.
somebody who can't read. It's sad,
Mhm.
but we do have people who cannot read still.
I know. I know. Well, I invited Mr. Ford because Mr. Ford and I, we have conversations about going forward. We have conversations about, the way we can come together and make things happen. Mr. Ford, tell me where values are concerned. We are dealing with the letter B, but you can tell us, you know, what kind of actions you take on a regular basis. I don't want to say daily to put you in a hotspot, but on a regular basis where the young people are concerned, especially, and like Karen said, um, the by extension the society. How do we see us using values to instill a sort of betterness to 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 take the young people and the society in a positive direction? What's your take with that is concerned?
Okay, thank you very much, Daddy Mac. If I'm permitted to call you Daddy Mac, it
Yeah, you
sounds
can call me.
natural to call you Daddy Mac. Right.
Yeah.
I, I
And, and
agree.
and let me say good afternoon to the rest of your listening public, wherever they may be on the World Wide Web. Earlier, you asked me about my B word, and I said being authentic.
Yes.
And I would want to say, but being authentic sounds nice, but being authentic to what? And then we can start to lay the foundation for, as you are speaking here, values.
Yes.
To give you my perspective, allow me to take a half a minute to a minute to share some things about Jason for that the listening audience may or may not know. And it squares nicely with what we are speaking about with values. Now, I am a retired police officer. I was a police officer for 40 years in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, where it was an honor for me to be a police officer. And I say that without any fear of contradiction. I joined the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service at the tender age of 20. I joined as a constable and I rose through the ranks where eventually I retired at the post of acting deputy commissioner of police. That was no mean feat because along the way I have gained a lot of experience. And you all would appreciate that if you spend 40 years in an organization that is dynamic as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, dealing with every manner of human being in this country, whether they be native to the country, visiting, or whatever, you would have some experiences that you can draw upon to speak about values. Now, one of the key things I want to speak about, as you speak about being authentic, is about being an exemplar. If you're an exemplar, it makes the work easier for anybody you want to lead, regardless of whether that person wants to go with you or whether they are resistant to you. You see, when you set a good example, it is difficult for persons to really criticize you successfully. Now, there's a particular book, and I'm happy that we have an author present here. There's a particular book that has found favor with me. And I realized that way back when I was practicing what the author spoke about, but I did not know that I was practicing that. There's an author by the name of Robin Sharma. Robin Sharma wrote a book called The Leader Who Had No Title. The basis of that book is that in the society we live in today, we wait until titles are bestowed upon us and then we lead. What Robin Sharma is saying is basically, if you see a piece of paper on the ground and you realize that it is wrong for that paper to be there, you have a choice. You can be a follower and leave it. You can be a leader and take action, or cause action to be taken to remove that paper that was not supposed to be there. I say that to say this. As a constable, where I lived in San Juan, we had a lot of young persons, and police officers are expected to be exemplars wherever they find themselves. I'm speaking from the perspective of police and not any other profession at this time. I understand in my role as a police officer, and that was based on now being trained by other police officers who were there before me, who informed me by way of example and by way of telling and showing that this is how a police officer behaves. What I did, realizing that I was an influencer, what we call an influencer today, but I was what you call an exemplar back then, I used to walk through Port of Spain and go to various bookstores. And that is why I asked, is it Carol?
Yes, Caron.
Right.
Caron.
Anyway, I asked Carol if she was related to the Asgarali, who had a bookstore on Duke Street, because that is one of the bookstores that I frequented. And during the year, I looked for books at reduced prices, and I bought books that I felt could have lifted the minds of those young people. And on New Year's Day, every year for about 4 to 5 years of my career as a police officer, as a constable, could have been a little more than that, about 4 to 5 years. Every New Year's Day, I gave gifts of a book to young persons in the area. But not only did I give them a book, they had to give me a book report on what was in the book.
Hmm.
When I look back at what I was doing, I was practicing what we call influencing or exemplar behavior of being a leader without having a title.
Yes.
All that we are discussing here this afternoon is to produce leaders, everything. And if you give me an extra half a minute, I want to just touch on what Carol spoke about belief and the sometimes the reality that it is difficult to trust. But when I look at the human race, where we started and where we are today, and knowing that 5 to 10 years ago, it might not have been possible for us to have this conversation that we are having today the way we are having it. We would have had to journey to a studio and sit opposite each other to express our views. But the human race is about progress. It is about leading, it's about innovation, creativity. And as such, I have a strong belief that the human race will continue to produce, will continue to innovate and create, and will lift us higher, despite the few, which might be 1% or 0.00 something percent, that might want us to go in another direction. Having said all that, I just want to say being your authentic self is understanding what is right, what is wrong, making a choice to go to go along the right path, being an example to those who watching and even for those who not watching. For as Colonel Powell, the American five-star general said, discipline is doing what is right even when persons are not watching. That is what leadership is about. It is about believing in yourself. It is about believing in the people that you are leading and the people around you can influence your decisions and going towards a particular objective. Knowing that there will be pitfalls, there will be failures, but you keeping your eye on the prize because success is not negotiable.
Very, very well said. I am so I don't know how to respond to that, Daddy Mac.
I
But you
told
know that statement you made about you doing the right thing even when no one is watching. I remember when I had one of my Form 4 classes, I used to write that at the top of the board every single day. Every single day. I was a form teacher, and I always told them that I say, we have to do what is right because it is right and not because somebody says so or because somebody is watching. It's right even when they're not watching. I love that.
Correct. Mhm.
Daddy Mac?
yes, 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 yes. Because you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I told you, no, 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 no. All what Mr. Ford said there, it's so impacting that
Yes.
I think if our leaders would align themselves with a thought pattern like that, I think we can move forward maybe at a faster pace. But like Mr. Ford said, the human being and the little bit of them that are creating in negative um, situations that sort of like keeping us back, and creating an attraction, by via the media and even the expansion of the media into social media. It's just really a few people who are into the negative behavioral patterns that will have us, seeing it as though it's something big. But on the flip side of that, there are so many good things happening. Like you said, Karen, there are a lot of groups. I too am part of a group that I'm trying to create a sort of positive approach to socializing and community development. And I sometimes get fed up. Sometimes I want to throw in the sponge and say, I've had enough. I've had enough. But, like when I get home and I'm there with myself, I get this kind of inspiration. I hear a voice in my head saying, how on earth could you give up? I dare you to give up. So I challenge myself in that same, under that same headline belief. So I love what Mr. Ford said, and I would like to see it spread like an epidemic, that it will rub off onto other people, because I always talk about these four little boys that I try to look over, and I there's one in particular, he's always around me. So the way I will talk with him and what I will show him, because exemplary behavior is something you have to show, So I will show him certain ways that he should operate, how he should dress, how he should keep himself, how he should approach people, how he should talk with people and things. And I believe that when he goes home, he will say, I went by Uncle David, and he's called me Uncle Davy, and Uncle Davy said this. So I know it. I hope that it rubs off on the others. I saw two of them at a national service expo from the Ministry of National Service at the expo there, and I was happy to see them there. So I know I've been talking with them, and I know he's telling them some of the things that I tell him. So it rubs off. So where values are concerned, it is such an expanded avenue that we can choose. Maybe we can multitask and choose, how we can do things to improve that development of values, especially in the young people. There are so much negative things that are being said about them, and yet still there are lots and lots of them who do positive things. So appreciating what they are doing and assisting them in understanding what they are doing, like what you do, Caron. I mean, you do so much where motivation is concerned. Sometimes words can describe. And I'm hoping that it spreads like a wildfire, like an epidemic, so that we can see some sort of a reality that will make us smile, because
Yes.
excellence is something that we should always strive for, and in striving for it, there are other people who are looking on at the way we strive for that excellence, and it could be multi-pronged.
Yes.
Well,
And
Daddy Mac and
yes,
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Right.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, Daddy Mac and Carol, what you just said there, Daddy Mac, and what Carol said is so significant. Yeah, about the wildfire and the spreading of the positives. But we're talking values. And when you speak to those behavioral scientists, those psychologists, person like you, Daddy Mac, person like Carol, who interacting with persons, and interacting with the younger ones, we all will come to the similar conclusion that young persons are not born negative.
That's right.
Despite the challenging circumstances that might have been pre their birth, they are not born negative. And I have an example that I use to show that each and every person that comes into this world is not a mistake. It's a bit graphic, but it's relatable because it is human. Picture this. Picture Usain Bolt, who but just a short while ago was the fastest man on the planet. He was racing against 7 other persons because a 100-meter race has 8 lanes. Am I correct, Daddy Mac? You are a sportsman.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Right. He is running against 7 other persons and beating them. 7 other persons, 8 in that race. But there is a race that takes place ever so often where there are 1 million runners. 1 million. And let me ask you, Daddy Mac, are you a twin?
No, I'm not.
Carol, are you a twin?
I'm not.
Beautiful. 1 million. And out of that 1 million, one person came through and won. You beat out 999,000 plus other runners in that race. When there are twins, triplets, quadruplets, quintuplets, sextuplets, okay, that's different. But when you run that race, when the gun says bang, and you take off and you beat out all those others, it says that you are a winner from the word go. You survive in the womb. You come out, you survive in the hospital. You survive those young natal years, prenatal years. And you come out. What happens is that we, and I want to say we more as adults, whether it be in social media, whether it be home on the block, we condition, we socialize those children to be negative by the ill things we say to them. So a child made a mistake, and the only thing you can say is, you're so dumb, you're like your dirty father.
Hmm.
Right? As opposed to promoting critical thinking, hold the child into your space and ask a question, why did you do that? Tell me why, and engage the child so that that child will understand that when I am faced with a situation again tomorrow, I don't have to be perfect, but I can use my thinking faculties and get a result that is better than this one. And when that child gets that result, you clap, congratulations, bravo, bravo, and you reinforce, you are so intelligent, you are so brilliant. That will cause the wildfire to spread. I am speaking from experience, an experience that both of you can draw upon, maybe 1,000 times more than me. But for the wildfire to have its effect, it is about reinforcing positive, congratulatory statements to the young ones. And there was an author who wrote the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Something Johnson was his name. I don't recall his first name. I didn't really put down some notes to come here. So I'm speaking from memory.
Yeah.
But he said something, and that was for adults who are already grown and shaped. So you can imagine the effect it will have on the younger ones. He said, you applaud and praise in public, you chastise in private.
Hmm.
We take pleasure in chastising and bringing down each other in public. When someone does something good, our typical response is, we expect, I expect that from you, as opposed to congratulating, as opposed to praising in public. The American, the Canadian, and other systems that understand that creating world leaders every day, what they do is every time you do something significant, they give you a ribbon that you wear. Look at these generals that the Americans display. Their chest, the generals are leaning forward because they have so many medals on their chest.
Hmm.
But they wear them proudly because at every turn that something significant occurs, you are rewarded in public. We will not always get it right, Carol and Daddy Mark. Three of us, we are not saints. We will make mistakes.
Yeah.
However, we have to make that commitment that we are going to continue raising up those younger ones. When your grandson, Daddy Mark,
Yeah.
does something that you are displeased about, and you go to pick him up at school, you have a choice. You can start to pick on him while you walking towards the car and make him feel less than,
Hmm.
or you can wait until you reach into the vehicle and then engage him.
Yeah.
He will respect you and understand that, hey, even though I made a mistake, he didn't rub my face in the mud.
Hmm.
Those little things, and they seem little, but they are significant.
Very much so.
And those are the things that cause the wildfire to spread. Because it is easy when you pick out the newspapers and you see something negative on a headline, you grab it and you want to read,
Yeah.
as opposed to something positive. But the positive is what we need to spread more of, so that we lift up leaders who have values. That's my 2 cents worth at this time.
No, but
Yes.
your 2 cents worth is very important because when we look at what you're saying there, right? We mustn't just tell our young people when they do something good, but in all our actions too, as far as possible, we should demonstrate those things. But when we look at the leaders of our country, when we look at our parliament and the things that happen during the news, and you see people, the way they address each other, and you look at all the trouble that you have among the ranks within the different parties, and they're airing all their dirty laundry. That is not the example that we want our young people seeing, right? Or even if they see it, we must, as you say, teach them to think critically about situations like that. So you see that happening, what's wrong with it? Is that how you're supposed to behave? If something happens with your friend, is that what you're going to do with them? So, we
Correct.
need to use all of these things as teaching points for our young people. It's really sad that we have things like that going on, but as you said, even though it's bad, right, we can still have the good going on and get the good to spread like wildfire by doing it over and over. In the same way, the bad spreads as wildfire. So even though we may have had 1% bad many, many years ago, that 1% bad would have increased by now, surely, because one bad apple, I think the song goes like that. It's a song they used to have in the 80s. One
Yes,
bad apple can spoil the whole bunch, though. I think
yes.
they said it the other way around, but you know, so that's an excellent point you made there, Mr. Ford. I want to just go back a little bit to what you said in the first part of what you were saying when you said, as a young constable, how you would buy books and distribute it, and then not only did you give them the books, but they had to give you back something in return. They had to give back a book report, and that was an important lesson on so many levels.
Yes.
You taught them, one, about giving, right, about being generous. You taught them about the value of reading and knowledge, and then you taught them about giving back, right? You must, it's not a one-way street. You don't just receive, but you must give back as well. So you taught them a lot of good lessons there. And I think that if it comes back to being authentic, if our leaders, and when I say leaders, I'm not being political, I'm just talking about anybody in a position of authority. If our leaders were to do things like what you did there, and do it in the way that you did it. I mean, some of them do it and to some extent, but we need to see it happening more. We need to see more and more people doing things like that, not just for the young people, but for all people. We must reach out to each other and help each other. Let me give you an example. Um, about a couple of days ago, I needed some feedback on a piece of writing that I was doing. So I sent it to somebody and I asked her to check. I sent it to a few people, and one person sent back with her genuine feedback. Now, in her opinion, her feedback wasn't good, right? It was actually good. It was excellent feedback because of its honesty. You could tell that it was something she thought about, and she gave me what she thought really was could be done to improve the writing. But she has become so used to people thinking negatively that she thought that was the end of the relationship between the two of us. And I had to reassure her, it's not so. I was glad because you told me, fix this. She didn't really say it like that, but fix this and it will become better. And it made me think, and I went back and I did it over and I explained to her, life is too short, it's too fragile, it's too valuable for us to not cherish each other in the time that we are here.
You are
So,
correct. You are so correct.
yeah, and we are at about 5 o'clock now. I think, Daddy Mac, do you think we could listen to our valued contributor, Miss Johanna Andrews, at this point?
Of course we can. Of course we can. Let me play
Ju-
it for you.
just before I play it, let me just tell him a little bit about her. Miss Johanna Andrews, she's a single mother. She brought up all her children. They've all done very well. She's become a motivational speaker for single mothers, and she decided that she was going to do B in the alphabetical journey of values, and she chose such a lovely B value. She chose beauty, and she chose to talk about seeing beauty in the things that God gave us. So wherever we are, we could look around and find beauty in things. I mean, it wouldn't always be obvious. In some cases, it's very obvious. Like if you look at my mother, it's very obvious. but but in some cases, you have, like when you look at me, you have to look a little deeper, right?
Hmm.
And you have to look and you'll find beauty. But the thing is, you have to go looking for it because, like right here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's so easy for us to throw back our minds to when it was a beautiful place. You know, we
Yes.
always talking about in the old days and the old
Yes.
times.
Yes.
And I agree, things have definitely not the same. Things have changed a lot, but we can still look around and find beauty. For example, during we talked about this, Daddy Mac, and Mr. Ford will know even more about this because when we look at when bad things happen, for instance, if there's a shooting in a community and somebody dies, I'm sure lots of people, you know, come forward and they want to console the family members and they try to help them however they can help them. Or during times of flooding, you know, you see people going, they're going on boats, they're putting on big boots, they're going to try to help families. So there's still a lot of beauty around us.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess with that we could
Yes,
listen to
yes.
Miss Johanna Andrews.
Okay. This is Johanna Andrew. Fantastic. That's
Excellent.
very fantastic. You know, because
I
I mean,
forgot how good that was.
you know, she touched on an area there where, as a broadcaster, I was very excited about my career. It kept growing, and surprising me at every level that I've reached, or achieved. I always wanted to be in the savannah as a broadcaster. We call it outside broadcasting in the media. The station will send you to cover events and stuff. And I've always wanted to be there for carnival and stuff. And they had sent me there to the savannah for the very first time, as a radio broadcaster. I've been there as an announcer for Panorama and Mass and Calypso and stuff. But this instance was the first instance where I went as a broadcaster. And when I sat in the grandstand there, the first thing I observed, there were thousands and thousands of people there. A lot of food courts with different variety of culinary and all of that. All sorts of things were on the ground that I looked at because I observe a lot to be, very explicit in what I broadcast. But what really struck me and grabbed all my attention was that lovely view of the mountain range, and how it was like a nice, it draped around the savannah in a special kind of way. So the backdrop, I kept talking about it almost every time I observe something different about that same, landscape that formed, like I said, a backdrop, like it was a drape right around the savannah. Anytime you go and you sit in the grandstand and you look northwards, is this, sort of drapery of the northern range. And when you keep looking at it, you will always see something new on the northern range. So all through the broadcast, I kept observing and saying it over and over and over. And to my great surprise, the next day in the news, they were describing my type of broadcasting of the northern range. And I went there to do a different thing. I went there as a broadcaster, doing radio work, just saying what's going on stage. But that attracted me so much, the beauty of that. And then it was like from evening into the nighttime. So the sun was setting more to the western side. And there were an area that was creating fog at the top. It was just an awesome, awesome experience that I will never ever forget. So beauty is it's living, it's alive, it's well. And if we can appreciate that kind of beauty and make it extend to the way we look at humans, the way we look at animals, the way we look at life in general, I think we can really move forward and instill values that are really important in our growth as a nation.
I agree with that 100%. And when we talk about beauty, we could think about the way we treat people as being
Yes,
beautiful.
yes.
For instance, I'll talk from as being a woman. When we see other women, it's so important for us to lift each other up.
Hmm.
So many times we tend to want to pull down each other rather than look for the good in the person, or look for something nice to say to them.
Yes.
Or maybe even if you point out something that's wrong, like if somebody has on lipstick and it got on their teeth, for instance, tell
Hmm.
them about it, so
Hmm.
that they too, they can walk around confidently knowing that you have their back. All that is beauty, I think, in my
Yes.
mind.
Yes.
And
It is a combination of qualities.
yes, it's a whole lot of things. Beauty is not just, what it looks like, not just the appearance, but it's so much deeper than that. Mr. Ford, I'm sure you have a lot to tell us about beauty and the work that you were doing.
Hmm.
I think we
Ford?
think we lost him.
Yeah, maybe he's probably
His
in an area.
contribution is so valuable, Daddy
Yes,
Mac. I'm
I'm
so
telling
glad
you.
you brought him on.
Yeah, when I'm conversing with Mr. Ford, we
Mhm.
go on for hours, because what he keeps saying. And I mean, as a police officer, I mean, I was very surprised to hear him talk about giving us a bio. When I
Right.
introduced him, you realize I did not say anything about it. I mean, you and I, we share that off when we're chatting on the phone and stuff, but I did not mention that today, and I did not want to mention it today because he's one of my new friends that I'm very happy I have met, and the kind of discussions we would have, it's a beauty within itself. You
It
know,
is,
so
yes.
this is a new friend, and
Hmm.
of late I've been having some really nice new friends. Friends who are beautiful. And it's not about what I am seeing.
Right.
It's what's coming from within. I can call a few of them, and if I'm feeling a certain kind of way, like if I'm feeling down, or I think I had too much, I've been doing too much, or I'm frustrated for some, like that tour guides association that I'm struggling with. Sometimes I get really frustrated and I will feel to let go. And I will talk to somebody like Mr. Ford. We are not talking anything about tourism or the pitch link by extension. And just by how he is interacting with me, I feel like a different person instantly. Or after a few lines, I just feel that instantly. I feel that about him. He's a really nice guy, and I mean, if some of his colleagues will follow in his footstep as a police officer, and right now, like they say, a civilian, he's still involved in a lot of, uh,
Yes.
yeah, yes, Mr. Ford. Karen, what you want
Yes.
to say him
Yeah.
again, Karen?
Thanks.
He's back with us.
He's back. Yes, thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Thanks.
very
Thanks.
uplifting.
The beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. The beauty of modern technology. Yes. So yes, I wanted to touch on those things: beauty, being authentic, belief, being exemplar. And I was speaking about the leaders and cause and having a posing for cause to do, let us say, evaluation or assessment. And it took me back to long ago. I grew up in the era where we used to play cowboy and Indian. We are not going to look at the political correctness of it. Cowboy and Indian. So that every Christmas I had a gun and sack as a present.
Yes.
Then I got a rifle as a present.
Hmm.
But you know, when I being like how it seems to be so easy to do today. But I recalled that something that my parents did is that we also had a few discussions about what we saw on the screen, because those days you were influenced by cowboy shows and by karate show. The fool with the shows, there was not that urge to come out and kill anybody after.
Hmm.
That was because some type of discussion took place after the show.
Yes.
Many parents today have reassigned the television or the phone or the laptop or the computer to the role of the discussion that they're supposed to have with their children. So that when things happen that ought not, that is, let us say, when you have art imitating, they ought to let life imitate the art that you saw. So if two men stand up and shoot at each other and blood is splattered and one falls down, not is correct. We need to have that discussion. Just as you said, Carol, is that correct? Is it the right thing? Without condemning the person, look at condemning the action.
Hmm.
Because many of our leaders, they mean well and they want to do well. But for whatever reason, they may do some things that might be contrary. We look at an evaluation of their actions so that we ingrain in the young people that the correct thing to do is this, and not this. So jumping off of that with the beauty and all of that and the belief is that wherever you find yourself, especially when you are what we call aware, you have a responsibility to develop, to beautify that area, space. And beautifying is not only by putting up flowers,
Hmm.
it comes back to behavior, the way you speak with people, the way you interact with people. I'm saying again, we will not always get it right. We will make mistakes, things that sometimes we are not say, but what is this? No, classic example. This tongue belongs to me. It is in my mouth, and I still bite it.
I like that example. Oh gosh, I'm sorry we're losing him again.
He's probably that era where the internet is very,
Yeah.
very, you know. it's
Yeah.
fluctuating all the time. I tell you, he's dynamic. He
He
says
is.
things that have me glued to the phone. he, he's a really dynamic person. I'm glad I met him as my new friend.
I'm glad we have him here to share that wealth of experience with
Yes,
us. You know,
yes,
you could hear it in his examples and in his speech.
yeah,
You know, you could tell this is a man who can really add value. And coming thinking about that, there is all of this is evidence as to why we need to adopt like a mentorship system
yeah.
in all aspects of life, and not just with young people. I mean, because you can't assume that the elders know the right way to bring up the young ones. It
That's right.
doesn't. It doesn't always work like that. We would like it to be that way.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be, but it's not always that way. So it's good to have people on board, and I'm not saying older people or younger people. I'm saying people on board who have good values and who are good exemplars, as he mentioned earlier, to
Hmm.
have them as mentors and working with people and help and guide us all in our ways. I When I started to do things, I needed a mentor as well when I started teaching,
Yeah.
and I didn't get a direct mentor, but I had two excellent administrators. I had Mr. Roll Amy. He
Hmm.
was the acting principal when I started teaching at Pleasantville Senior Comprehensive,
Yeah.
and there was Mr. Sigobin, I think, was the vice principal.
Yes.
So these two guys, they taught me just by the way they conducted themselves, their affairs. So I
Yeah.
remember when I first started teaching, I was a new mom back then. My son was probably about 6 months, and in the first couple months, I think I went in late 6 times,
Hmm.
or maybe 5 times, and only 6 time when I went in late, both of them were standing by the book. And when I say late, I mean like just a few minutes later, because I always like to be on time.
Yeah.
But because of the constraints with where I was living and with my son and all of that, I guess I don't want to make excuses. I was just late.
Hmm.
Both of them were standing by the book because we teachers had to sign the book.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me anything. They just looked at each other. They looked at their watches. They said, she's here. And they walked off. That
Hmm.
was all they had to do. And
Hmm.
Daddy Mac, I never reached late after that. In fact, I used to get letters of commendation for
Yeah.
reaching on time.
Yes.
You
Yes.
see? And
Hmm.
they didn't have to, according to Mr. Ford, they didn't have to say anything bad to me. If they wanted to, they could have said it to me privately,
Yes. Yes.
but they chose to show me what I'm supposed to do rather than tell me what I'm supposed to do, which is a technique we use in writing as well, Mr. Ford.
Yes. Mr.
Yes.
Ford is back with us. Yes. Continue, my brother.
I went on for some time. I do not know where I dropped off, but I will piggyback from what Carol just said about the exemplar being led by exemplars.
Hmm.
You know, in the police service, I worked at a place called the Homicide Bureau of Investigation.
Hmm.
And again, we're speaking about values and how leaders instill values in you and encourage you to be better than. So I'll touch two quick examples. We all know the police service is a quasi-military organization, not full military, but quasi. And we act on instructions. When I was a constable, what really prompted me to want to be a corporal was a corporal who interacted with me, and he wanted me to do a patrol. And he did not come and give an instruction and say, Ford, you go and patrol so and so and so and so. He came and he asked me, say, 40, you think you could give me a patrol between so and so and so and so? The patrol was supposed to be 3 hours. I patrolled for 5 hours
Hmm.
Hmm.
because he asked. He asked, and I knew that that was an instruction. Because when a senior makes a request of you, it is an instruction.
That's right.
He asked me, and he, amongst others, but he really prompted me to want to be a corporal. And I said, when I became a corporal, I wanted to be like him,
Hmm.
not instruct, but to ask and get it done. I
Yes.
hope I did a good job. But later in my career, I think I was either a sergeant or an inspector. In the Homicide Bureau of Investigations, another officer and I went to interview a guy who was guilty of an offense. And the guy had reached close to confessing, but he did not. So when we went back, we did an analysis of what went on. And we just we were speaking about that, doing an analysis or evaluation of actions that have gone on before, so that you look at what should have happened, what happened, and if there were any gaps, how you fill the gaps so that going forward you do better. We speak about instilling values here. We speak about developing leaders. So this supervisor of mine, I will not call his name, when we did the analysis, and I told him what happened, and I told him where I trusted him enough because of the way he had interacted with us before. I trusted him to tell him the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I told him what happened. No, there was silence after that. And I was waiting to see whether he would have dropped a hammer on us or not, the other officer and I or not. Or even me, because I was a senior person. He watched at us and he said, well, you know how not to do it the next time. He said, and I look forward to the next time when you break through. No, I'm speaking by post at raise, eh?
Right.
This is an emotional moment for me. Hear this. Soon after that, because of what he said, soon after that, we went to do another interview of another person who was suspected of committing a crime, an unlawful act. When the guy started confessing to what he did, the other interviewer and I, we were taken by surprise. Because of what had taken place when we did the evaluation with our supervisor, we were encouraged to go to retool ourselves and to go forward more gusto. We broke through. Listen, when we went back to office, we couldn't contain ourselves to call out. So I tell Vienna, we get you. No, instilling values, beautifying people. Beautifying is lifting up, believing in people. He believed in us.
Yes.
He knew that if he shared that belief, he beautified us. He didn't put on makeup on our faces, but we felt appreciated to go and do better. When things go wrong, as they will from time to time, as Carl, you touched the nail on the head just now, we can point out the ugly and crush that person. But I have something that I say from time to time. Speak your truths, but speak them with love.
Yes.
And in that way, you lift up people, you beautify people. You tell people by what you say, the way you say it, that either I believe in you or I doubt you. When you act that way, you leave a mark. This is what we talk about, building legacy.
Yeah.
You leave a mark and a person says, I want to be like Caron. I want to be like Daddy Mac. Because of the way you treated them. People, as they say, do not care how much you know until they know how much you care. We are speaking leadership. We speak in values. We speak in beauty. We speak in belief. We speak in being authentic. We speak in all those things. And even though I did not know the A's that went on at the last conversation and the C that will come, we touching on all those things. Whether they be adjective, nouns, or adverbs, we touching on them. The way you interact with people, and I always say this, we will not always get it right. We will step on a toe or two. We will bite a tongue or two. But how we deal with it after. And even sometimes you might disturb somebody and that person might not want to deal with you. That too is also possible. But in their quiet moments, they cannot say you did not try, did not make an effort. And other persons watching on look at you and they come to you after for advice. They call you for your input in things. because they understand that you are an objective person. You show leadership qualities in that you decide to take on the matter head on, didn't hide, and you took it on with a level of maturity and integrity that a leader is supposed to have. So, in our society, there are persons who their actions may not always please us, and they're in leadership positions. I take it as an opportunity to say, okay, this is how we ought not to do it, and ask, how are we supposed to do it? And have that healthy discussion. Because the young people who come in to take our places, if we do not have those discussions with them, then they will continue the behavior that we see as being not favorable, because they will feel it is the norm. So the wildfire could be spread, It's easy to spread the wildfire.
Very
Just
easy.
reinforce the good, the positive, the possibilities.
Yes. And
Well,
Mr. Ford, when you talk about reinforcing and all the points you just made there was something that came to my mind where um, not only must we ask the questions about what we could have done differently and we're moving forward and we want to learn, but we want to take the lessons that we learned from past mistakes or from the past actions and apply them in new situations. It might be a different situation, but we want to apply it.
Yes,
And
of
you talk
course.
about the next value. The next value, see compassion. That's what the next one is, compassion. And we talk about that in what we're talking about here. In the way you speak to people, you must have compassion, right? And
Yes,
those are things
yes.
that must guide all our actions. But um, I really, really like your compassion in helping the young people with the books, in getting them to read and getting them to bring back the report. I keep coming back to that because that really touched me. I think that's what touched me the most today.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, you've done a lot of things there, things that we expect you to do as a police officer.
mhm.
But that one is the extra. That's like the icing on the cake for me when it comes to you. See, I come back to my sweeting, Daddy Mac.
I told you, Mr. Ford is very, very dynamic in his thinking, and I have him in my prayers and all because I hope that he continues, and well, with his dynamism, he will continue, and I have learned a lot, and it's not very long I've been Mr. Ford's friend. If you only know how Mr. Ford and I met, is based on a visit to the Pitch Lake,
Oh, look at that.
and it evolved from that because in chatting with Mr. Ford, I said, David, there's something about this man that is so valuable to your progress also, and what I can pass on also. So I keep him very close. When he calls me, I will drop what I'm doing and listen to Mr. Ford. We'll chat, we'll talk about programs and how we should approach this and that and thing. And I've realized we need a lot of Mr. Fords in a lot of different areas of our society
I
is moving
agree.
forward.
Yes. People who are good mentors, as you were saying. And
Yeah.
I would love very much to work with Mr. Ford too, because in the work of Project Rare, I'm not sure if you know what Rare stands for, Mr. Ford, but it stands for Raising Awareness on the Ripple Effect of Gun Violence. And the reason I
Okay.
started this is because I am a victim of gun violence.
Mm.
So
Sorry
what
to
I
hear.
do, that's okay. What I do is, I go around. I used to host what I call peace services, and it really was sessions where we would provide information on some of the physical aspects of gun violence, the emotional, the financial, and spiritual, and all the different aspects of gun violence. So I could see where you have a lot of value you could add in that respect. So I'd really like to keep in touch, and I really hope that you'll be joining us for other value sessions along with other people. But we'd really
Yes.
like to have you there too.
Well
I
said.
think it's so much more stimulating to have a third person and maybe even a fourth to Daddy Mac.
Yes, because I did not tell Mr. Ford about your experience of that that weird experience of gun violence. I
Yes,
mean, I know we will chat after, and I would have told him, because confidentiality too plays a very important role within
yes,
the nurturing of people, and like Mr. Ford said, those seniors to him at the time who sent him on different details and interviews, they spoke to him in confidence. They made him know that, listen, this is a confidential thing between you and your colleague. Or don't go back
right.
out there. And it was a confidential sort of
Yes,
reaction. And I think confidentiality plays a serious role. So, I did not tell Mr. Ford because
that's
that
okay.
was
That's
confidential
okay.
between us to an extent, because I know
Yes,
you speak about it in your inspirational and motivational talks. And I mean, if you were to tell Mr. Ford how it happened, and how you survived it and all of that, I know he can relate to that. So
yes.
I thought Mr. Ford was the ideal person to invite on the program.
Yes, I really am so pleased that he came on with us. And
Yes,
Thank you.
the reading, that extra reading that he did, and you could hear he reads a lot.
yes,
That
yes.
that has helped shape who he is. So you see how important it is for us to have our young and not so young people
Mhm.
get involved in
Yeah.
reading the kind of material that will help them to grow.
Hmm. And
You
It
know,
is. It is.
reading has become easier now because there are a lot of ebooks, a lot of
correct.
information, because the young
Yes,
people and a lot of people who are, mature people and all, they're always on their phone, and there's a lot of information on the phone. The late Dr. Joby said, Google it, Google it, Google it,
yes,
Yeah.
But you all know something.
Yeah.
Well, the information is more easily accessible
Hmm.
by way of print. A lot of the younger persons not rushing the print. They like the graphics, the pictures.
Yes, yes.
So one of the things that I've realized with younger persons is just as you touched it with Dr. Job,
Hmm.
when you engage them, you send them to do research, and they have to come back and discuss. So when they do the research and they come back to discuss, you get them to read. Now, one of the drawbacks is about not sharing enough stories with them,
Yeah.
because it is said that the average CEO reads about 52 books per year.
Hmm.
How true it is, I do not know, but that is what they say. Now, my pet peeve is that our education system pushes you to cram as opposed to reading for entertainment
Hmm.
or for some knowledge, not just for schooling. Because there's an aspect of self-education that if you want to be a plumber, there's so much information you can read on the internet that can cause you to be a crackshot plumber. And of course, you have to apply your practical. But my point is, once you get them stimulated to read, listen, you cannot close any doors on them.
Hmm.
They read, they read, they read, but it's to get them stimulated. And part of it is through discussions. You have to go into their brains.
Yeah.
And listen, it's phenomenal. I interact with some young people that some things they're sharing, and a part of it is reading, and I challenge them.
Hmm.
And they go to come back to prove me wrong. And I love that. Come and prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I have no issues being wrong. What I really want is you to go and get the information.
That's right. That's
Yeah. So Carol, I have no issues. Whatever teeny weeny contribution I can make, and teeny weeny for those who might be outside of Trinidad and Tobago means minuscule,
right.
right? Whatever teeny weeny or minuscule contribution I can make, I am here because it is about improving the society, improving the human being.
and
Because
right
once we
there,
talk belief,
yes,
once we use the word belief, and then we add beauty onto it, it means that we have a responsibility to uplift.
Well said.
And right there, we have an example of beauty. Right there, look at how willing he is. He's saying minuscule, but we know. I mean, look at him sitting in that car there. There is nothing minuscule about Mr. Ford. So I know his contribution will be not minuscule.
I know. I know.
So yeah, I really look forward to that, and I thank you for that because there's beauty in cooperation and
Yes.
working together and
Yes,
collaboration. So
Yeah.
we get
correct.
into we shifting from the B's to the C's because next week is the C.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
not next week, in the next session, whenever we're doing it.
Yes.
Yes,
When it's possible.
yes,
And I thought of this the moment you made the mention of the ABCs of values. I said, well, this I am going to create a series with this because I know you work very hard in the trenches, inspiring and motivating people, and it's not easy to do that based on the amount of distractions that are happening now. There are lots and lots and lots of distractions. Like Mr. Ford said, he will challenge them. Well, when Mr. Ford challenged them, when you listen to Mr. Ford and you understand his personality, they will take it up seriously. Let us
of
go and
course.
with that. Wrong. They're gonna take him on. But with him, there are lots of distractions. So so
Yes,
so so Mr. Ford's method of approach, I spoke about that. Mr. Ford's method of dealing with these young people and whoever he comes into contact with, it has an impact that you want to challenge him, and I think that could get rid of distractions. You'll be so focused on doing it and to making it a reality that the distraction will be out of the window. But there are lots and lots of distractions. Some of them are so well prepared to distract and to encourage negativity. Sometimes it's mind-boggling, to know, well, what on earth is this person doing, or why did they bring this to the fore, or why are they putting this up on social media? Distractions that can really break a forward movement of people who are willing, people who are in depressed areas, what we call the red zones and the hot spots, and they describe it in all kind of negative ways that tend to put a damper on efforts of people who are willing to make some kind of contribution in uplifting, as Mr. Ford said. You know,
yes,
But you see, on that point that you raised there,
yeah.
and the distractions,
Hmm.
is inch by inch, block by block.
Hmm.
And let me see what I mean by that. When you start a conversation with someone else, especially in the initial stages, you may not start on constructing some type of legacy. You may not start on constructing anything, but that is what you have in mind.
Yeah.
So the conversation may start from base level. And I want to use this example. Two men coming together and see now I haven't seen Carol in her entirety, but I want to use her as an example if that is okay.
Yes.
We see Carol pass and we say wow. And after the wow, a conversation will take place.
Mhm.
Right? Because we are men, testosterone.
Yeah.
But the leader has a plan and the leader will allow the conversation to go for a while.
Yeah.
But block by block, bit by bit, inch by inch, 1% at a time, the leader will start to take the conversation along the path that he or she wants it to go.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
person will come back to speak because the person found a bond, they found common ground in the beginning. But you as leader, you have your plan. And before you know it, you have one other person thinking positive and similar thoughts to you, who you can mentor, who can now go on to coach and mentor others.
Yes.
So it's bit by bit, block by block, inch by inch. And we'll pull them over.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's not hard
and
work.
correct. And by doing that, you get them to want to shed that old skin, as you say, to become a better version of who they were, right? So it wouldn't
Yeah,
just be that they're doing it because you're doing it. It's because they want to do it. You get them to that point. Let them see that there's something better out there, something that could not just not just make our society better, but in doing that, they make themselves better, and vice versa. In making themselves better, they make the society better as well.
exactly. Nothing succeeds like success. Nothing.
I like the way how Mr. Ford speaks. Nothing succeeds like
Straightforward.
success. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I shoot from the hip. Remember, I told you all that
yes.
my father used to give me gun and sack as a young man.
Right.
So I shoot from the hip. Many people don't like the way I shoot, but I shoot from the hip.
Yes, yes,
But I survey the opponent and the landscape good before I pull and shoot it. But I
yes.
shoot from the hip.
Yeah. Well, I know your contribution will be that valuable for the program. I'm going to share with you. I'm going to send you Karen's number so you can link with Karen. I'm sure it's okay with Karen that I share her number with you. And
Yes,
And you can
yes,
share my number with her.
yes, I
appreciate
will.
that.
I will because I think we are all on the same page, and by having these kind of conversations, I think it augurs well for even further discussions on things that we didn't touch on today, and what will pop up in our minds to touch on as we go forward.
You know why I like this interaction we had this afternoon?
Yeah.
It reminded me of, I think the author was Stephen Covey, who said begin with the end in mind.
Hmm.
Carol might be able to correct me because Carol is the literary person who has been writing books for a period of time. I think it was Stephen Covey, who, as I said, who wrote the book begin with the end in mind.
Hmm.
Or part of his book was one of the chapters was to begin with the end in mind. I think of the 7 habits of highly effective people. I
Mhm.
think but begin with the end in mind.
Yes,
And
yes,
when you are speaking, things come to you. This is the beauty about interacting with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So that I didn't come here prepared with any kind of notes, anything, right? I came to speak as we flowed.
Yeah.
And Daddy Mark, as you spoke just now, Stephen Covey's chapter came to me with begin with the end in mind. And once the end is an enlightened, uplifted society, then any action that we perform will be towards that.
Hmm.
There will be persons opposed to it. We have to be cognizant of that. However, once we said that we are going to achieve X, Y, and Z, once we have the end in mind, and that is how I functioned when I was in the police service.
Right.
What is the end result? All these actions that we are taking is towards what?
Hmm.
But once you have that, you realize that your actions, they line up.
Yeah.
They really line up.
Yeah.
yes, and all your inspirational, well, in the past, people like Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill and so on, they all subscribe to the same kind of thing. You become what you think, and
Yeah,
once you
exactly.
once you focus on that and you put in the hard work, and your subconscious works while you're sleeping, and everything is all focused on that ultimate goal, and you know where you're heading to. It's like what we started off by saying, Daddy Mark, you have a recipe, you
Yes.
know what you're going to make at the end of it. You
Yes.
have a map, you follow the map, and you
Yes,
know exactly where you're going to you know
Yes.
correct.
Yeah.
and
Correct.
that's what this was about. Somebody described this, Mr. Ford, as the alphabetical journey,
Mhm.
taking us through values from A to Z. So
Yes.
you're correct.
Yes.
We know what we want from it. We know where we want it to go, and all of us on the same page, and we get into that same space.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just make sure we have a few 4x4s,
Right?
4-wheel drives,
Yes.
because we have some rough road to maneuver.
And we have
Yes.
some mud we may get stuck in, and we will need a little pushing and pulling sometimes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Right? But however, once you have the end in mind,
Hmm.
Mhm.
right? And another an influencer said recently, there's nothing really at the peak,
Hmm.
The
Yes.
beauty is in the journey towards the peak.
Yes.
So once you have an end in mind, it's like you have already seen the end. It's really the journey
Yeah.
that really is the beauty.
Mhm.
So it is good to have an end in mind.
Of course,
Yes.
I will keep that in mind. I like that cliche, Mr. Ford. You said plenty things today, and I've learned a lot, and I will keep in mind because I tell you, these are the guys. Sometimes when he comes by me, there are times when I'm asleep, and this is the fella will come and sit there with me. He watching the television, he's just there. I'm asleep with him. And I might turn and see him and say, small man, how long you sitting there? He said, well, I have to stay until you wake up. So
Yes.
so I need to have cliches like that to tell him because I grew up with my grandfather telling me a lot of cliches, You know, you think things hard now? You're complaining about no shoes. When you go down the road, you'll see a man with no feet. And he will just
Yes.
go about his business. I said, Grandpa's like something wrong with Grandpa. Oh, he's so vexed, But
Yes.
those things
Yes.
stuck with me. So, like you said there, whatever you do, think about with the end in mind. Those are the things I want to instill into this little fella, and I know he'll pass it on to his brothers. So I'm so happy
Yes.
that you came on the program today. I told Caron, Mr. Ford is dynamic.
And
And
you were
Well,
not wrong.
Carol, do you
Yes.
have any grandchildren as yet?
No grandchildren as yet.
Hear the beauty. Hear the beauty. How life is beautiful, eh?
yeah,
When you have a child or children, you are struggling to provide for them and to give them direction.
mhm,
It is a struggle, regardless of what you have, because as we said earlier, there are distractions, there are push and pull factors that
mhm,
come in at them. You see, when you are grand, you have been given an opportunity to really you out of the struggle of a child. So now you have a grand,
mhm.
and you have the opportunity to really shape. Notwithstanding that you would have shaped your own, but you have opportunity without struggle now to shape.
Hmm.
And Daddy Mac, as you spoke, that came to me that opportunity when they come, because all that you have earned and passed on to your children.
Yeah.
If you do not have your grandchildren to shape them, they will fluctuate away. Eh?
Yes, yes.
You will
That's
get rid of it.
mm-hmm.
So once you have an opportunity to impress, to influence your grandchildren, it means that life is giving opportunity to
Yeah,
keep your fortune intact.
that's right. That's right.
I
So, Daddy, you're
agree.
in a privileged position. Carolyn will be there eventually.
Yes.
She's
Yes.
young still. She's young still. She must be about 500 years away from it. But
Well, ladies like to hear that.
yes, yes, I will. I will. I have instilled in my the elder of the two, one is 10 and the other is 5. The elder of the
yes,
two, I have instilled a sort of confidence in him that he is trust me. There are things he would tell me and he'd hope I don't tell his mommy and his daddy. So I don't
yes,
share it at
yes,
all. When he comes to me, I call him my champion. I say, "You're my champion." So
yes.
I've built that trust in him. So I hope that the legacy will be passed on to him and that he will take good care and, handle it in a way that I'll be proud of wherever I am.
Now, you see, it comes back to what I started with authentic self.
yes.
And I asked the question, what is the authentic self?
Mhm.
And we runs it off now. And I'm happy to say, as you talk about passing on,
Yes.
when you're passing on and you pass on that authentic you,
Hmm.
it is a you that has been through fire, that has been tested, that when you look in the mirror, you don't have to duck and hide from what you are seeing looking back at you.
Yes.
And that is what we share with, firstly,
Hmm.
our spouses, our partners,
Hmm.
our children,
Hmm.
our grandchildren, our neighbors,
Hmm.
the society. Because an authentic self can be a destructive self.
Hmm.
That is not the self you want to share.
Hmm.
There are persons who cannot watch themselves in a mirror They have to go sideways to the mirror to see the reflection.
Hmm.
When you can watch yourself straight into a mirror and say, yes, I am pleased. And the society echoes, yes, we are pleased. That is the authentic self that you can share with the world.
Yes. Yes.
Because the mere fact that you have beat out 999,000 means that you are great and you are special.
Yes.
You have authenticity to share with the world. Do not be a copy. Be your authentic self.
I like that.
I like that too.
Yes.
But in being our authentic self, we get a template of who we are meant to be. When we, well, in my case, because I'm a Christian, I speak from a Christian platform, but our authentic self comes from knowing what God considers a good man or a good woman. And we can get that from reading the word. And that's something that I would encourage anybody to do. Find a good book. In my case, find the Bible, read every day, read with understanding or with the intention of understanding. Get down on your knees and pray and read. Have in mind, based on what God says is right, have in mind a set of values that will help yourself and will be help you to be your authentic self, as Mr. Ford said, but
Yes.
also that you will be someone who is going to uplift society and community. And
Yes.
that's all we want from this session, these sessions on the better part, the ABCs of values.
Yes. 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 Well, I'm sure when I've sent numbers to and fro, so I'm sure
Yes,
when you
thank you
guys,
Thanks,
very
thanks,
much.
yeah, when you
thanks.
guys chat, you can explain more to Mr. Ford because I do a variety of things. Sometimes I'm happy when Karen and I have personal one-on-one chats. I'm extremely happy when I'm on a one-on-one basis too with Mr. Ford. But I try to tend to other things that brings out the authentic me too. So it would be nice for you guys to chat. I know Karen, you would enjoy the conversations whenever with Mr. Ford, likewise Mr. Ford. So I thought when we put the program together, I thought Mr. Ford is the only man I think I can start with from my point of view. I know Karen half of people, but I know Mr. Ford would have said impacting stuff because he has created a big change within my way of dealing with some of the things that I deal with on a daily basis. And I'm very happy, like I said when your computer was fluctuating, that I told Karen, I said, Karen, I'm so happy that I have a new friend in Mr. Ford. So I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
friendship. I appreciate your stewardship. I appreciate your values, if we should put it like that.
Thank
Karen?
you very much. Reciprocations to you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Karen.
and we appreciated having you so much today. I mean, the value you brought to this values program.
Yeah.
it's it's I don't think we can measure it, and
No.
we really give you thanks for that collaboration with us.
Yes.
And one of the things is we say surround yourself with positive people, and you are one of those positive people. Cut
Ex-
out the
Thank you.
negative, find the positive. Thank you very much, Mr. Ford.
Yes, yes.
You are welcome.
And I'm seeing comments here from people. Randy Kelly, let me say hi, good afternoon to you. We have other people who are sending in nice comments as great show, and they hope that we continue. So I look forward to us being a threesome and continuing. I know Mr. Ford is a very busy man too, but whenever he's available, we'll surely invite him back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And can I just say something quickly before we go?
Of course, we have time.
Yeah, so I want to say Tadima, thanks for inviting me.
Mhm.
I was tempted to ask you how to prepare myself, but I said, let me go with the flow.
Yeah.
I am happy that I went that way.
Yes.
My thing is, at the end of the day, we need to develop leaders and leaders who can lift the society up. And I like the name of the program, the values, ABC or
ABC.
A to Z of values.
Yes, yes.
When leaders have values, the society functions better.
Mhm.
The society is better balanced.
Mhm.
Like there will always be challenges, but once there are values, the society is better balanced.
Yes. Yes.
And the beauty, the belief, being authentic, being exemplar, the examination and evaluation of all actions, good, bad, and indifferent, will cause leaders to really check themselves and step up as opposed to step down. Because we need leaders, and we need leaders who don't necessarily have to have a title to lead. All of us are leaders.
Yes.
The fact that we are here, we are all leaders.
Yes.
Just have to do our part in our own authentic way.
Well said, Mr. Ford.
Yes,
Caron,
very
in
good.
closing.
So in closing, I just want to summarize what Johanna left us with. She spoke about beauty, the value of beauty. Johanna is a single mother and motivational speaker, and she said, we need to look at beauty in the things that God gave us, and that you get a sense of peace when you think of beauty and beautiful things. And we must be grateful for life and appreciate all of the beauty around us. So, I just want to end with telling her thanks for that beautiful reflection. And I want to encourage everybody to think about, based on everything we said this evening, what is beauty to you? Find good answers to that and maybe share the answers with Daddy Mac and we'll hear them from him.
I will surely relay them to you. So I want to thank you both for giving us a wonderful afternoon on Power 102 Digital about the ABCs of values, and we look forward to other episodes in this continuing series of the ABCs of values. Thank you, Mr. Ford. Thank you, Caron.
Thank you very much.
Thank-
You are most welcome.
And thank you also.
Bye bye, Carol. Happy journey, and we'll speak.
You speak, yes. Thank
And
you.
both of you all reach home safe.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye, my brother. That's it for today's edition of Hard Talk. We call it the Trini thing. It was all about the ABCs of value.